Well, good morning. I'm glad to be here. If you haven't met us yet, I am with Premier Senior Consultants, and we help families find senior living options when the time is right. But my question for you today is, I want to know, have you known anyone to wake up one morning and say, I think I want to move into assisted living today? I never get a show of hands. No, it's really a tough thing, and we see that it's kind of one of those things that also kind of gets put off until they think, now I don't have a choice. But really what we want to do is kind of show you the different options that there are. They've really come a long way in the last decade especially. But the three things that we see that seems to be a big concern for seniors, aside from money, because we all wonder how we're going to pay for it, but the top three things that we see personally is people have a fear of losing their dignity. The number two is people have a fear of maybe losing their privacy. But the number one concern we usually see is people are concerned about losing their independence. And I can assure you that we've really seen over the last 10 years or so, senior living communities really listen to seniors on their expectations and their preferences to kind of make it more amenity focused and to offer different types of levels of care. So we're going to get started with that. I'm sure you guys have felt this way, confused, wondering what direction to go. So we're going to try and see if we can kind of sort out the different options so you can feel more informed. But we're first going to start at some statistics at a glance. My first question is, what's the average age considering assisted living? And typically we're seeing about 81 years as the average, which that is actually kind of trending down. A lot of people were waiting to longer and moving in straight into nursing home. We're seeing more seniors moving into independent living and then moving through from independent to assisted. Who's going to need long-term care? For those over 65, 70% is going to need some form of long-term care. This is an interesting, and we also talk about how we help usually the adult children. Daughters to sons, the ratio is 3-to-1 on who is helping on behalf of the senior. So it's those daughters and daughter-in-laws that are usually there trying to help their loved ones. We also heard a little bit about VA, which is a wonderful benefit, and we're seeing about 41% of people have access to VA benefits. So it's something that is really another lengthy topic, but there is a lot of opportunity out there to learn more about that. And then we've also heard about long-term care insurance, and we're seeing about 6% of seniors have access to long-term care insurance. That also I've seen kind of on the rise, especially with adult children who are starting to realize as they're helping their loved ones that maybe this is really something that they should consider. So here's some facts. What does Medicare cover? And I want to talk a little bit about that because as some others have as well, it can be really confusing. I like to explain it where Medicare pays for care, if you can keep that in mind. That's going to be your hospital, your doctor's visits, rehab prescriptions. It doesn't pay for assisted living. And that sometimes is confusing because Medicare does help with rehab, but it's different when you transition into assisted living. Medicaid is aid for housing. So when you hear the word Medicaid, people are talking about aid for housing. That can be assisted living, that can be memory care, and a nursing home. So those are the biggest differences, and they're the most confused. So again, if you think of care for care and aid for housing. We heard about VA, once again. It's a benefit that, for those that served and their surviving spouses. It's a very significant benefit if it's something that you can look into. And then once again, the long-term care. That policy will usually pay for either nursing home or assisted living as well. So we're going to talk a little bit about the first tier, which is considered independent living, and what does that look like? What you're going to see usually with the independent living is a lot of amenities. You're not really receiving any hands-on care yet, but you're receiving those things that maybe are getting a little difficult at home to care for, such as your household, cooking, cleaning. Usually in independent living, it's 1 to 2 meals a day. You still have a full kitchen. You can still cook on your own, but you have the opportunity to have some dining. Cleaning, they usually take care of that, and some transportation. Many are still driving, so that's not an issue, but it does help to sometimes have some additional support with that. Activities, a lot of things. Think of living on a cruise ship, as I say. You have a lot of things going on. You can wake up every day and just kind of decide what you'd like to do. And that kind of adds on to having neighbors and to socialize. I see this a lot when it comes with husband and wife and spouses. And a spouse may pass, and then we find that other loved one that's really isolated and not socializing. And even though you may still be independent, it's hard for you to be living alone and just not really being with others. The security and peace of mind is also key. Again, even though you're not receiving hands-on care, you're going to have that person that is on call at all times at the community. So if you do have an issue, you have a fall, you're not feeling well, you have that security and peace of mind. So what does it look like? This is just a little example, just because some people really visualize in their mind, they're in a small room, they picture a nursing home, and it's really not the case. A lot of independent living looks just like this layout. It can be easily 1,000, 1,200 square feet, full living room, bedroom, full furnishings, full kitchen, and everything. So it really is nice. You still have a lot of your space, you have your privacy, but you have all the amenities. So now we're going to talk a little bit about assisted, which, as you'll see, it's kind of building off of independent. The things that get a little different is in-household helps, for instance. Usually they're doing all of your cooking at this point. You may still have a refrigerator, microwave inside your unit, but they're going to be having you come down to the dining room. You're going to be receiving all of your meals. Cleaning and laundry services is added. That's when they're doing your personal laundry, helping you with that. So it's just when you need that little extra help. The activities, security, peace of mind, that's all very similar to independent. But really the biggest difference is you're getting the assistance of activities of daily living when needed. So that's when the care comes in. Maybe you need some medication management. Maybe you need a little bit of help with personal services. The assisted living is going to allow you to live as independently as possible, but they're going to give that opportunity to bring in care when it's needed. So it really is, you can live there and then just kind of build from there as you need the additional help. So as we reiterate, it is not your parents' nursing home. It's what a lot of people picture, and that's kind of the fear. So it comes in a lot of different shapes, a lot of different sizes. So I'm going to break down briefly what that looks like. First of all, one thing that's become very popular here in the state of Florida, and they actually outnumber larger communities, and that is home-style communities. These are licensed assisted living homes. They have a license the same as large communities, but they only have 5 to 6 residents. So think of the Golden Girls, as we used to watch. You have the opportunity to live in a home-style setting. You have a caregiver there at all times, and sometimes this is a really good fit for people that are not looking to be as social. They don't want to be in a communal setting. They don't want to be necessarily going to a large dining room with 80 other people. So this is really a good fit. And I'll tell you my experience. I was an executive director and ran large communities for quite a while. And I've really come to appreciate the smaller component and what it has to offer, because it really sometimes is the right fit for those people that just really don't want to be in the larger setting. So it's so funny, we'll take people to help them look, and these homes are in your neighborhoods and you don't even know it. It's pretty neat. So it gives you just that home environment. But then we have our traditional, which is our apartment style, and that goes back to kind of like the independent living. You're going to see a lot of amenities, and it's going to offer you just different things. Some people do like that bigger environment. They may want to be more social. They need more interaction. So again, the larger communities, we're really seeing a lot of nice ones up and coming that really have a lot to offer. I want to talk a little bit also about memory care. This is really something that we're seeing the need grow, as we know, as a lot of people are faced with Alzheimer's and dementia. So we've seen our industry really come and listen and focus in on what's the best environment. And really, again, it's two different ways. We have the smaller homes, which are excellent a lot of times for behaviors, a lot of times with those that can't really thrive in a larger environment. We've seen a lot of small homes that have come up that are secured and that they offer the safe environment, but in a home-style setting. So those are a really good option. And then our larger communities may have a memory care unit in their community. But even more than that, we're seeing some communities that are freestanding, all memory care, that they specialize in that. So when you hear about memory care, you're going to know that those caregivers have been specially trained. They know how to take care of those that have Alzheimer's and dementia. And it's really a nice added addition, and we've really seen a lot of improvement over time. The last part I want to talk about, and I know it's a lot of information, but a lot of people will ask us, what is the difference between the continuing care retirement communities and the rental communities? So both of these offer you something very, very different. And when we're working with families, we like our families to be able to consider both because they really offer something that maybe one would and one wouldn't. But let's talk first about what a continuing care. They're the ones that you hear that, well, you'll pay a large entrance fee. And sometimes people, that really scares them, and it's understandable that they don't really understand, why am I putting this money down? Why do I need to do this? Well, think of it as an investment, as care for life, and as they may want to call it, because the continuing care retirement communities, they have independent assisted living, usually memory care, but they also have the nursing home, usually on the same campus or under the same roof. So I like to offer this when it is the right fit. It really is good, too, to think about for husband and wives, because when you have a couple and they're declining at different levels and rates, this allows them to age in place. And let's say you might have mom that is in the assisted living, but dad finally needs the nursing home, but they're able to be at the same campus and see one another and still feel together. So, and a lot of times that may be a good situation for couples. The investment that you're putting down, what it does is it helps you, again, be able to stay for the remainder of your life, even if you outlive your assets. So again, some people really like the investment. They feel like that it is really worth it. They feel at ease to know that they're going to move. And even if they deplete their assets or they go beyond level of care of assisted living, that they can stay in the community on the campus for the remainder of their life. The other, though, option, too, is monthly rentals. You will see that this is probably 95% of communities and homes are going to be rentals. And what's great about that is there's usually just a one-time move-in fee. You'll pay the monthly rent, but they're month to month. So they give you a great option. So let's say you move in and you decide 6 months later you want to move to New Jersey near your daughter. You just give a 30-day notice and you're able to move out. So some people aren't aware that there's that flexibility in a lot of our assisted livings and independent where it may not be forever. A lot of times we even see transition. We'll see someone move in, they'll maybe in rehab. They need assisted for a while and then they can go back home. There really are some options that a lot of people aren't aware of that you're able to do. And it does provide financial flexibility in the monthly rentals. Again, you're not putting down that investment, and you're able to kind of be a little more flexible in your choices in staying. So I want to just close with this, and I know we've all been kind of talking about it, but really my words of encouragement would be, as we've all been saying, is not to wait. Because I'll tell you, in our experience, really more than not, we are working with the adult child who's having to make the decision for their loved one. And that's really difficult because a lot of times what happens is instead of being proactive, we're being reactive. I have a daughter calling me saying, you know what? Mom's fallen several times. She finally broke her hip. She's in rehab, discharging in 2 days, and I need to find an assisted living because she can't go home. And so then we're dealing with, even though we can walk through that process, that senior is moving into assisted living sight unseen. They didn't have a choice. Their loved one had to. Their child had to choose it for them. But what I like more is to be able to take that senior and help them tour the communities. That way you can pick what you would like and give those options to your children. And it may not be next month, next year. You may never need it. But it gives the chance for them to know what your desires are, know the places that you like, do your homework, because there's a lot out there and it can get really confusing. So that's what I would encourage you to do, is just really think about it, and then just go and just kind of see. Some like small, some like large. Some want this side of town. They want certain amenities. So kids so many times have to go out there and decide that for their parents, and it's really emotional. It's a really hard time. And then that senior didn't get to really have a say in where they're going to spend their golden years. So thank you for having me. I'm glad to be here, and we'll be back out and for a question and answer here soon. Thanks.